How was your day? Whatever emotions you're bringing into this moment, curiosity about mysteries, stress from daily demands, fatigue from the weight of routine, it's all okay. This is your space now, your time to rest. You don't need to solve anything tonight, you don't need to be anywhere else or do anything more. Just be here, in this quiet space we're creating together. Tonight, we're going to explore one of urban America's most enduring mysteries. Something strange and beautiful that appeared on city streets for decades, left by an anonymous hand. The Toynbee Tiles. These aren't tales of horror or frightening unknowns. They're stories of human creativity, obsession, and the deep need to communicate something important to the world. Someone spent years, maybe decades, embedding cryptic messages into the asphalt of major cities. Why? We may never know for certain. As we journey through this mystery together, let your mind wander gently through the streets where these tiles appeared. Let yourself drift along the highways and avenues where an unknown artist left their mark. There's something deeply calming about unsolved mysteries that harm no one. They remind us that wonder still exists in our world. Settle in now, get comfortable, let your breathing slow and deepen. We're about to walk the streets of Philadelphia, New York, and dozens of other cities, following the trail of an urban legend that became beautifully, mysteriously real. Part 1. The Encounter. On a typical morning in Center City, Philadelphia, commuters hurry across the intersection of 13th and Locust Streets. Most don't look down at their feet. But if they did, if they paused in their daily rush and truly looked, they might notice something extraordinary embedded in the asphalt beneath their shoes. A rectangular plaque, roughly the size of a license plate, bears a cryptic message in capital letters. Toynbee Idea in Movie. 2001, Resurrect Dead on Planet Jupiter. The letters appear to be cut from linoleum or a similar material, arranged carefully and somehow fused into the street itself. The edges show wear from countless tires and footsteps, but the message remains clearly legible. Around it, the asphalt has been patched and repaired, as if city workers simply built the street around this curious artifact. This is a Toynbee tile, one of approximately 600 documented examples that have appeared across North and South America over the course of nearly 4 decades. Each carries variations of the same basic message, though some include additional text that grows increasingly paranoid and hostile toward media and government authorities. The tiles first came to widespread public attention in the 1980s, though some may have appeared earlier. They've been found embedded in streets from New York to Buenos Aires, from Chicago to Santiago. Most cluster in the eastern United States, with Philadelphia serving as what appears to be ground zero for the phenomenon. What makes these tiles particularly mysterious is not just their content, but their placement. They appear in the middle of busy streets, locations where installing anything would require stopping traffic, breaking through asphalt, and completing the work quickly before authorities arrived. Yet no one has ever reported seeing them being installed. No security cameras have captured the process. No witnesses have come forward. The tiles seem to appear overnight, as if by magic, already weathered and integrated into the street surface. Some show clear signs of having been driven over countless times, their edges worn smooth, their colours faded by sun and rain. Others appear fresher but still somehow established, as if they've always been there. Walking through Philadelphia in the 1990s, you could find them scattered across the city like breadcrumbs in a fairy tale. South Street, Broad Street, the Benjamin Franklin Parkway. The mysterious tile maker had left their mark throughout the urban landscape. Each discovery felt like finding a secret message, a puzzle piece in a vast and incomprehensible design. The message itself raises as many questions as it answers. Toynbee idea refers to British historian Arnold Toynbee, whose theories about the rise and fall of civilizations influenced mid-20th century thought. Movie 2001 clearly references Stanley Kubrick's science fiction masterpiece, 2001, A Space Odyssey. But how these elements connect to resurrecting the dead on Jupiter remains beautifully, mysteriously unclear. Local journalists began documenting the tiles in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Photography was difficult. The tiles' placement in active roadways made detailed examination dangerous. But slowly a picture emerged of an extensive project spanning multiple cities and apparently multiple years of work. The Philadelphia Inquirer's Doug Womble wrote some of the earliest mainstream coverage, describing his fascination with discovering new tiles during his commute. He noted their professional appearance. These weren't crude graffiti or hastily placed stickers. Someone had taken considerable time and care in their creation and installation. What struck early observers was the dedication required for such a project. Creating hundreds of tiles would demand significant time and resources. Installing them in major city streets would require remarkable planning and nerve. This wasn't the work of a weekend artist or casual prankster. Someone had committed years of their life to spreading this cryptic message across the Americas. As word of the tiles spread, urban explorers and mystery enthusiasts began documenting their locations. Maps were created tracking the geographic distribution of finds. Patterns began to emerge, concentrations along major highways, clusters in city centres, a clear trail that suggested systematic placement rather than random distribution. The tiles became part of Philadelphia's underground culture, known to locals but largely invisible to visitors. You had to know where to look, and you had to care enough to look down. In a city rich with official public art and historical markers, these unauthorized installations occupied their own category: folk art, street art, outsider art, or perhaps something entirely unprecedented. By the mid-1990s, the Toynbee Tiles had acquired a devoted following. Websites appeared cataloguing known locations. Photographers specialized in documenting new discoveries. The mystery had taken on a life of its own, independent of whoever had created it. The tiles had become urban legends made manifest, proof that strange and wonderful things could still happen in our surveilled and regulated modern world. Part 2. The Message Decoded. To understand the Toynbee Tiles, we must first understand the ideas they reference. The journey begins with Arnold Joseph Toynbee, born in London in 1889, who would become one of the most influential historians of the 20th century. Toynbee's masterwork, A Study of History, spanned 12 volumes and attempted nothing less than a comprehensive analysis of human civilization. Published between 1934 and 1961, it proposed that civilizations rise and fall in predictable patterns, driven by challenges that either stimulate growth or lead to collapse. But Toynbee was more than just a historian. In his later years, he became fascinated with spiritual questions, particularly the possibility of life after death and the ultimate destiny of human consciousness. He wrote extensively about resurrection, reincarnation, and the survival of the soul, themes that would prove remarkably relevant to understanding the tiles that would later bear his name. In 1964, Toynbee participated in a television interview that may hold the key to the entire mystery. Speaking with broadcaster and writer James Burke, Toynbee discussed his beliefs about resurrection and the possibility that human consciousness might survive bodily death. The conversation touched on space exploration, the colonization of other planets, and the role that technology might play in humanity's spiritual evolution. This interview was later referenced in Ray Bradbury's 1966 short story, The Toynbee Convector. though Bradbury's tale focused more on the power of positive thinking and hope for the future than on resurrection specifically. However, the connection between Toynbee's ideas and science fiction had been established in the cultural consciousness. The second element of the tile message, movie 2001, refers to Stanley Kubrick's groundbreaking 1968 film, 2001, A Space Odyssey. This cinematic masterpiece explored themes of human evolution, artificial intelligence, and transcendence. The film's ending, in which astronaut Dave Bowman is transformed into a star child after encountering an alien intelligence near Jupiter, deals explicitly with death, rebirth, and the evolution of consciousness beyond physical form. In Kubrick's vision, Jupiter serves as the staging ground for humanity's next evolutionary leap. The planet's mysterious monolith, an artifact left by an advanced alien civilization, facilitates Bowman's transformation from human to something far greater. He dies as a man and is reborn as an ethereal being of pure consciousness, capable of returning to Earth as humanity's guide into the future. The connection between Toynbee's theories and Kubrick's film becomes clearer when we consider both dealt with the transformation of human consciousness. Toynbee believed that civilizations, like individuals, could evolve beyond their physical limitations through spiritual growth. Kubrick imagined a universe where sufficiently advanced beings could manipulate the very fabric of life and death. Someone, the anonymous creator of the Toynbee Tiles, saw a profound connection between these ideas. In their mind, Toynbee's concepts about resurrection and spiritual evolution could be realized through the kind of advanced technology depicted in 2001, A Space Odyssey. Jupiter, the setting for Bowman's transformation, became in their vision a place where the dead might literally be brought back to life. But the tiles suggest something more specific than general resurrection. The phrase, resurrect dead on planet Jupiter, implies a deliberate program, a conscious effort to bring the deceased back to life in a specific location. This isn't the gradual spiritual evolution Toynbee discussed, nor the mysterious transformation Kubrick depicted. This is something more concrete, more achievable, a plan that someone believed could actually be implemented. Some researchers have theorized that the tile creator believed in a coming technological breakthrough that would make such resurrection possible. Perhaps they envisioned space colonies on Jupiter's moons, where advanced medical technology could restore life to preserved human remains. Perhaps they believed that consciousness itself could be transferred to artificial bodies capable of surviving in Jupiter's harsh environment. The message takes on different meanings depending on how literally we interpret it. Read as metaphor, it suggests hope for human transcendence and the survival of consciousness beyond death. Read literally, it proposes an actual program of space colonization and technological resurrection. The genius of the tiles lies in their ability to function on both levels simultaneously. Later tiles would include additional text that provided more context for the creator's beliefs. Some mentioned molecular biology and genetic engineering, suggesting a scientific rather than purely spiritual approach to resurrection. Others referenced specific years, 2001, 2003, 2018, perhaps indicating when the tile creator believed their vision might be realized. The most intriguing addition to later tiles was the inclusion of hostile messages about media and government suppression. These additions suggested that the tile creator believed their message was being deliberately ignored or suppressed by powerful forces. They saw themselves as a lone voice trying to communicate an important truth to a world that refused to listen. In this context, the tiles themselves become more than just mysterious street art. They represent one person's attempt to preserve and spread an idea they believed to be of utmost importance, so important that they were willing to spend decades of their life embedding it in city streets across 2 continents. Whether driven by profound insight or elaborate delusion, the tile creator demonstrated a level of commitment rarely seen in human endeavours. Part 3. The Investigation. The mystery of the Toynbee Tiles might have remained a local Philadelphia curiosity if not for the determination of documentary filmmaker Justin Duerr. In the early 2000s, Duerr became obsessed with understanding the tiles' origins, launching an investigation that would consume more than a decade of his life and ultimately produce the acclaimed documentary Resurrect Dead: The Mystery of the Toynbee Tiles. Duerr's fascination began, like so many others, with a chance encounter. Walking through Philadelphia, he spotted one of the tiles and was immediately intrigued by its cryptic message and professional appearance. Unlike casual observers who might wonder briefly and move on, Duerr felt compelled to understand the phenomenon completely. He began systematically documenting every tile he could find, photographing them from multiple angles and noting their exact locations. He created detailed maps showing the distribution of tiles across Philadelphia and began reaching out to contacts in other cities to gather information about tiles elsewhere. What emerged was a picture of remarkable scope. Hundreds of tiles scattered across dozens of cities, all carrying variations of the same essential message. The geographic distribution suggested several important clues. The highest concentration of tiles appeared in Philadelphia, particularly in South Philadelphia and Center City. Major highways showed clear patterns. Tiles appeared along Interstate 95, the main route connecting Philadelphia to New York City and Washington District of Columbia. This suggested that the creator was based in Philadelphia and had systematically placed tiles during travels along major transportation corridors. Duerr also noted that tiles appeared in some surprisingly remote locations. They had been found in South American cities including Buenos Aires, Santiago, and São Paulo. This international distribution suggested either extensive travel by the creator or the involvement of multiple people working in coordination. The logistics alone were staggering. How does someone place hundreds of tiles across multiple continents without ever being observed? The investigative process proved frustrating. The tiles' placement in active roadways made detailed examination difficult. Many had been damaged or destroyed by roadwork over the years. City officials, when contacted, claimed no knowledge of how the tiles had been installed or who might be responsible. The anonymity that made the tiles mysterious also made them nearly impossible to trace to their source. Duerr's breakthrough came through careful analysis of the tiles' construction and installation methods. Close examination revealed that the tiles appeared to be made from linoleum, with letters cut out and arranged to form the messages. The installation method seemed to involve softening the asphalt with heat, pressing the tile into the roadway, and then allowing the surface to reharden around it. This technique would explain several puzzling aspects of the phenomenon. It would allow for relatively quick installation, important when working in busy streets. It would also create the weathered, integrated appearance that made the tiles seem like permanent parts of the roadway. But it would require specialized knowledge and equipment, suggesting that the creator had professional experience with roadwork or a related field. The investigation led Duerr to examine local records for anyone with both the technical skills and the apparent motivation to create such an extensive project. He researched city employees, road construction contractors, and anyone else who might have the access and expertise required for the installations. The search proved largely fruitless. No obvious suspects emerged from the public record. However, Duerr did uncover tantalizing clues that suggested the identity of at least one person involved in the project. Through careful detective work, he traced connections between the tiles' content and specific individuals in the Philadelphia area who had expressed similar ideas about resurrection, space colonization, and the merger of science and spirituality. One lead involved a Philadelphia resident who had called into local radio shows in the 1980s and early 1990s discussing ideas remarkably similar to those expressed in the tiles. The caller spoke about Toynbee's theories, referenced 2001: A Space Odyssey, and proposed that humanity's future lay in colonizing Jupiter's moons. The calls were made under what appeared to be a pseudonym, but the ideas were so specific and the timing so relevant that they seemed clearly connected to the tile phenomenon. Duer also discovered that several tiles contained additional text that had not been widely documented. Some included references to specific addresses in Philadelphia, suggesting that the creator wanted people to investigate further. Others mentioned dates and times, as if advertising events or meetings that might reveal more about the project's purposes. Following these leads, Duer found himself investigating a network of individuals in South Philadelphia who seemed to share unconventional beliefs about space exploration, resurrection, and government conspiracy. Some had backgrounds in construction or roadwork that would provide the technical skills needed for tile installation. Others had expressed ideas about Toynbee, Kubrick, and Jupiter that closely matched the tile's content. The investigation revealed that the Toynbee tile phenomenon was likely the work of a small group rather than a single individual. While one person may have conceived the project and created the initial tiles, the scope and geographic distribution suggested collaboration. The international tiles, in particular, seemed to require either extensive travel or the involvement of sympathetic individuals in other countries. Despite years of investigation, Duer was never able to definitively identify the tile creator or creators. The anonymity that made the project so mysterious also protected it from complete exposure. What emerged instead was a picture of passionate individuals driven by ideas they believed to be of cosmic importance, people willing to risk arrest and spend tremendous time and resources to ensure their message reached the widest possible audience. The investigation itself became part of the Toynbee tile story. Duer's documentary brought national attention to the phenomenon and inspired others to search for tiles in their own cities. New discoveries were reported regularly, and urban explorers began making pilgrimages to Philadelphia to see the tiles firsthand. The mystery had generated its own mystery, an investigation that revealed as much about human obsession and dedication as it did about the original tiles themselves. Part 4. The Artistry. To understand the true significance of the Toynbee tiles, we must look beyond their mysterious message and examine them as works of art. These creations represent a unique form of expression that defies easy categorization. Part street art, part conceptual installation, part folk art, and perhaps something entirely new in the spectrum of human creative endeavor. The aesthetic qualities of the tiles reveal careful consideration and considerable skill. Each tile is composed of individually cut letters, typically in a bold, sans serif font, that ensures legibility even when viewed quickly by passing pedestrians or drivers. The letters appear to be cut from linoleum or a similar material, chosen for its durability and ability to withstand the harsh conditions of street placement. The colour palette is deliberately limited but effective. Most tiles use yellow or beige lettering against a dark background, creating high contrast that makes the text immediately visible. Some tiles incorporate additional colours, red for emphasis, black for shadows or outlines, but the overall effect remains stark and functional. This isn't decorative art designed for galleries or museums. These are communications designed to be read quickly and remembered. The typography itself demonstrates sophisticated understanding of visual communication. The letter spacing is carefully controlled to ensure readability at various viewing distances. The overall layout fits neatly within the constraints of the tile format while maximizing the amount of text that can be included. Some tiles feature hierarchical typography, with key phrases emphasized through size or positioning. Perhaps most remarkably, the tiles show consistent quality across hundreds of examples spanning multiple decades. This suggests either meticulous preparation, with many tiles created in advance and stockpiled for installation, or remarkable consistency in the creator's methods and materials over time, the uniformity is particularly striking given the apparently clandestine nature of the project. The installation method itself can be viewed as part of the artistic process. By embedding the tiles directly into street surfaces, the creator ensured that their work would become literally integrated into the urban landscape. The tiles don't sit on top of the street like conventional signage. They become part of the street itself, weathering and aging alongside the surrounding asphalt. This integration creates a unique viewing experience. Unlike traditional public art, which is typically designed to be noticed and contemplated, the tiles require active discovery. They reward the observant and curious while remaining invisible to those who don't look down. In this way, they function as a kind of urban treasure hunt, with each discovery feeling like a personal revelation. The tiles also demonstrate sophisticated understanding of site-specific installation. Their placement isn't random. They appear at intersections where pedestrians naturally pause, on major thoroughfares where they'll be seen by maximum numbers of people, and in locations where they can be viewed safely without impeding traffic. This suggests considerable advanced planning and intimate knowledge of urban pedestrian patterns. From an art historical perspective, the Toynbee tiles can be understood as part of several important movements. They share characteristics with conceptual art, where the idea being communicated is more important than the aesthetic object itself. They relate to land art and site-specific installation, where the relationship between artwork and environment is central to the piece's meaning. The tiles also participate in the tradition of anonymous public art, following in the footsteps of mysterious figures like Banksy or the creators of various wheat paste campaigns. However, they predate much of the contemporary anonymous street art movement, suggesting that they may have influenced later artists rather than being influenced by them. The project's duration, spanning roughly 4 decades, places it among the longest-running public art projects in American history. Few artists have maintained such consistency of vision and execution over such an extended period. The tiles represent not just a single artistic statement, but an entire artistic career dedicated to a single, obsessive vision. The international scope of the project adds another layer of complexity. Creating and installing tiles in cities across multiple continents represents a logistical achievement that few professional artists could match. It suggests either remarkable personal resources and dedication, or a level of international collaboration rarely seen in grassroots art projects. The tiles' relationship to their urban environment creates interesting questions about ownership and authority. They exist without permission in public spaces, yet they've become accepted parts of the landscape in many cities. Some have been preserved by city maintenance crews who work around them during street repairs. Others have been deliberately removed, creating an ongoing tension between official authority and grassroots expression. The weathering process itself becomes part of the aesthetic experience. As tiles age, they acquire patina and wear patterns that tell stories about their environment. Tire tracks, foot traffic, weather exposure, and chemical treatments all leave marks that become part of the visual composition. No two tiles age identically, ensuring that each example remains unique despite their standardized production. The project's anonymous nature adds to its artistic impact. Without knowledge of the creator's identity or motivations, viewers must engage with the tiles purely on their own terms. There's no artist's statement to guide interpretation, no biography to provide context, no gallery representation to establish value. The tiles must succeed or fail based entirely on their ability to communicate and intrigue. This anonymity also ensures that the tiles will outlast their creator. Unlike conventional artworks, which often gain or lose value based on their creator's reputation, the Toynbee tiles exist independently of any individual personality. They've become part of urban folklore, their meaning and significance determined by collective interpretation rather than individual intention. In this way, they represent a pure form of public art, created by someone but belonging to everyone. Part 5. The Conspiracy. As the Toynbee Tiles gained wider recognition in the 1990s and early 2000s, their cryptic message began attracting attention from conspiracy theorists and alternative researchers. The tiles' references to resurrection technology, space colonization, and government suppression seemed to validate various fringe theories about secret scientific programs and hidden technological capabilities. Some researchers connected the tiles to alleged government projects involving life extension and consciousness transfer. They pointed to documented Central Intelligence Agency experiments with mind control and sensory manipulation during the Cold War, suggesting that the tiles might reference classified research into the nature of consciousness and its survival after death. In this interpretation, Resurrect Dead on planet Jupiter wasn't a future proposal, but a coded reference to ongoing secret programs. The tiles' international distribution added credibility to these theories. How could one individual or small group place hundreds of tiles across multiple continents without significant resources and coordination? Some theorists suggested that the project was actually sponsored by a government agency or international organization with the means to conduct such an extensive operation. Others focused on the tiles' apparent prescience regarding space exploration. When the tiles first appeared in the 1980s, serious discussion of space colonization was largely confined to science fiction. By the 2000s and 2010s, private companies and government agencies were actively planning missions to Mars and the outer planets. Some researchers suggested that the tile creator had inside knowledge of future space programs. The reference to 2001 in the tiles took on additional significance as that year approached and passed. Some interpreted this as a prediction that resurrection technology would be developed by 2001. When that deadline passed without obvious breakthrough, later tiles began including different dates, 2003, 2018, and others. Conspiracy theorists suggested these represented revised timelines for secret projects. The tiles' hostile references to media suppression also attracted attention from those who believed in systematic information control. Later tiles included messages like "murder every journalist" and accusations that newspapers were deliberately ignoring the resurrection message. These additions suggested that the tile creator believed their revelations were being suppressed by powerful interests. Some researchers attempted to connect the tiles to specific conspiracy theories about Jupiter and its moons. The discovery of liquid water beneath the ice of Europa and other Jovian moons led to speculation about existing life in the Jupiter system. Conspiracy theorists suggested that space agencies had already discovered evidence of life, or even intelligence, around Jupiter, and that the tiles referenced this hidden knowledge. The technical sophistication required for tile installation led to theories about the creator's professional background. Some suggested that only someone with access to specialized equipment and materials could have produced such durable installations. This led to speculation about involvement by current or former employees of aerospace companies, government agencies, or military contractors. Arnold Toynbee's own background attracted scrutiny from conspiracy researchers. His work as a historian and political analyst had brought him into contact with government officials and international organizations throughout his career. Some theorists suggested that Toynbee himself had been exposed to classified information about consciousness, resurrection technology, or space colonization plans. The timing of Toynbee's 1964 television interview discussing resurrection became significant in these theories. That year marked the beginning of NASA's intensive planning for the Apollo program and coincided with various military research projects involving consciousness and perception. Conspiracy theorists suggested that Toynbee's public statements were a form of soft disclosure, preparing the public for eventual revelations about secret research. Stanley Kubrick's involvement with 2001: A Space Odyssey also generated conspiracy theories. Some researchers noted that Kubrick had consulted with NASA and aerospace companies while making the film, gaining access to classified information about future space missions. The film's accurate depiction of space travel technology, years before actual moon landings, was cited as evidence of this inside knowledge. Conspiracy theorists suggested that Kubrick embedded real revelations about secret space programs within his fictional narrative. In this interpretation, the resurrection chamber and consciousness transfer depicted in the film weren't science fiction, but previews of actual technology under development. The tiles, then, represented someone's attempt to publicize these hidden capabilities. The geographic clustering of tiles around major cities and transportation corridors generated theories about strategic placement for maximum impact. Some researchers suggested that the locations were chosen not just for visibility, but for their significance to secret programs. Philadelphia's concentration of tiles was linked to the city's history as a center of government and defense research. The anonymity that surrounded the project also fueled conspiracy thinking. The creator's ability to remain unidentified despite decades of investigation suggested either extraordinary personal security measures or protection by powerful interests. Some theorists proposed that the tile project was actually an authorized disclosure operation, designed to gradually accustom the public to concepts that would later be revealed officially. Other researchers focused on the tiles' apparent durability and integration with street surfaces. They suggested that the installation method required access to specialized government equipment or techniques not available to civilian contractors. The seamless integration of tiles with roadway surfaces was cited as evidence of official involvement or at least tolerance by authorities. As internet communities developed around the tiles, these conspiracy theories evolved and multiplied. Online forums dedicated to the phenomenon attracted researchers from various fringe communities, each bringing their own theoretical frameworks to bear on the mystery. The tiles became a kind of Rorschach test for alternative researchers, reflecting whatever hidden truths each investigator was predisposed to find. Despite the proliferation of conspiracy theories, no definitive evidence has emerged connecting the tiles to any official program or secret research project. The theories remain speculative, built on circumstantial evidence and pattern recognition rather than documented proof. However, they demonstrate the power of mystery to attract explanation, and the human tendency to find significance in unexplained phenomena. Whether the tiles represent hidden knowledge or simply individual obsession, they continue to inspire those who believe that important truths remain hidden from public view. Part 6. The Legacy. Today, more than 4 decades after the first Toynbee Tiles appeared, their influence extends far beyond their cryptic message about resurrection and Jupiter. They have become a cultural phenomenon that speaks to fundamental human needs for mystery, meaning, and connection in an increasingly documented and surveilled world. The tiles have inspired a generation of urban explorers and street art enthusiasts. Their example demonstrated that it was possible to place unauthorized art in public spaces on a massive scale without detection or identification. This precedent has influenced countless subsequent projects, from sticker campaigns to elaborate installations that appear overnight in major cities around the world. Museums and cultural institutions have recognized the tile's significance as folk art and social phenomenon. Examples have been carefully removed from streets and preserved in collections, though this raises interesting questions about the nature of site-specific art. Can a Toynbee tile retain its meaning when removed from its urban context and displayed in a gallery setting? The tiles have also become part of Philadelphia's cultural identity. Tourist websites now include tile locations alongside traditional attractions. Local businesses have incorporated tile imagery into their branding. The city has, in effect, embraced an unauthorized art project that it once might have considered vandalism. This transformation reflects changing attitudes toward public art and grassroots cultural expression. Academic researchers have studied the tiles from multiple perspectives. Anthropologists examine them as examples of modern folklore and urban legend. Art historians place them within the context of conceptual and street art movements. Psychologists analyze them as expressions of individual obsession and the human need to communicate. The documentation process itself has become an important part of the tile's legacy. Photographers like Colin Kerrigan have spent years systematically recording tile locations and conditions, creating an archive that preserves the phenomenon for future study. These efforts have revealed patterns and connections that might otherwise have been lost as individual tiles weather away or are removed by road maintenance. Justin Duer's documentary Resurrect Dead brought the tiles to international attention and demonstrated the compelling power of mysteries that resist easy explanation. The film's success has inspired other documentarians to explore similar phenomena, creating a subgenre of mystery investigation that treats unexplained cultural events with serious scholarly attention. The internet has transformed how people engage with the tiles. Online communities share new discoveries, maintain databases of tile locations, and collaborate on theories about their meaning and origin. Global positioning system coordinates are shared, allowing enthusiasts to make pilgrimages to specific tiles. Social media has made tile hunting a participatory activity, with findings shared instantly across global networks. New tiles continue to appear occasionally, though their frequency has diminished significantly since the peak years of the 1990s and early 2000s. Some appear to be the work of copycat artists inspired by the original phenomenon. Others may represent continued activity by the original creator or creators. Each new discovery generates renewed interest and speculation about the project's ongoing status. The tiles have also influenced contemporary discussions about public space and unauthorized art. Their long-term survival in hostile urban environments demonstrates that thoughtful, well-executed interventions can persist even without official approval. This has emboldened other artists to consider streets and sidewalks as legitimate venues for creative expression. Educational institutions have incorporated the tiles into curricula ranging from art history to urban studies to psychology. They serve as case studies in anonymous expression, guerrilla marketing techniques, and the power of mystery to capture public imagination. Students analyze them as examples of how individual vision can achieve broad cultural impact through persistence and creativity. The tiles' message about resurrection and space colonization has gained new relevance as these topics have moved from science fiction into serious scientific and technological discussion. Companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are actively planning space colonies. Researchers study consciousness transfer, life extension, and even cryonic preservation. What seemed impossibly futuristic when the tiles first appeared now seems merely technically challenging. Some contemporary artists have created explicit homages to the Toynbee Tiles, incorporating similar techniques or messages into their own work. These pieces acknowledge the tiles' influence while adding new perspectives on anonymous public art and mysterious communication. The homages ensure that the tiles' aesthetic and conceptual innovations will continue to influence future artistic developments. The tiles have also become symbols of positive mystery in an age when most unknowns are either quickly solved or dismissed as hoaxes. They represent a form of mystery that harms no one while enriching the urban environment with wonder and speculation. In a world where surveillance technology makes anonymity increasingly difficult, they stand as proof that determined individuals can still maintain secrets. Urban planning professionals have studied the tiles' placement and longevity, as examples of unauthorized infrastructure that has been essentially adopted by official systems. City maintenance crews often work around preserved tiles, and some municipalities have informally protected them as cultural artifacts. This suggests evolving attitudes toward grassroots cultural expression and the role of citizen-initiated art in shaping urban identity. The tiles have become a touchstone for discussions about mental health and creative expression. The obvious dedication and possible obsession of their creator raises questions about the relationship between artistic genius and psychological compulsion. Some view the tiles as evidence that extraordinary creativity can emerge from unconventional thinking patterns, while others see them as symptoms of elaborate delusion given physical form. Religious and spiritual communities have found various meanings in the tiles' resurrection message. Some interpret them as secular prophecy about technological transcendence. Others see them as misguided attempts to achieve through science what can only be accomplished through faith. The tiles' blend of scientific and spiritual imagery makes them relevant to contemporary discussions about the intersection of technology and transcendence. The mystery surrounding the tiles' creator has become as significant as the tiles themselves. In an age when most public figures are extensively documented and analysed, the tile creator represents a vanishing type, someone who achieved substantial cultural impact while maintaining complete anonymity. This anonymity has allowed people to project their own meanings and motivations onto the project without contradiction from authorial intent. Conservation efforts have emerged to preserve remaining tiles as they weather away or are removed by road maintenance. Photography projects document their current conditions, while some advocates push for official protection of the most significant examples. These efforts reflect growing recognition that the tiles represent a unique form of cultural heritage that deserves preservation for future generations. The tiles' influence on contemporary culture extends beyond the art world into literature, music, and film. They've been referenced in novels, song lyrics, and movie plots as symbols of urban mystery and anonymous creativity. Their cryptic message has become a kind of cultural shorthand for the persistence of wonder in modern life. As cities become increasingly regulated and monitored, the Toynbee Tiles represent a form of creative freedom that may be becoming impossible to replicate. Their existence proves that in at least one historical moment, determined individuals could modify public spaces on a massive scale without detection. This achievement has become more remarkable as surveillance technology has advanced, and public spaces have become more controlled. The tiles also serve as reminders of the power of simple, repeated messages to achieve broad cultural penetration. Marketing professionals study them as examples of guerrilla communication that achieved remarkable reach and recognition through persistence rather than budget. Their success demonstrates that compelling content, consistently delivered, can overcome the disadvantages of limited resources and official disapproval. For future generations, the Toynbee Tiles will likely be remembered as a unique artifact of late 20th and early 21st century urban culture. They capture a specific moment when anonymous public art was possible on a large scale, when mysterious messages could persist without immediate explanation, and when individual obsession could achieve broad cultural impact through simple persistence. The tiles' ultimate legacy may be their demonstration that mystery itself has value in human culture. In an age when most questions can be answered instantly through internet searches, the Toynbee Tiles represent a form of productive ignorance, a mystery that enriches rather than frustrates, that inspires rather than impedes. They remind us that some questions are more interesting than their answers, and that wonder is a renewable resource that can be cultivated through careful attention to the unexplained elements of our everyday environment. As we walk through cities today, we can still occasionally spot the weathered rectangles embedded in intersections and roadways. Each discovery connects us to an unknown individual who spent decades crafting and placing these messages, driven by a vision of human transcendence that combined historical scholarship, science fiction, and spiritual hope. Whether their specific beliefs about resurrection on Jupiter prove prophetic or remain forever mysterious, their dedication to communicating across time and space through urban archaeology has achieved a form of immortality that their message explicitly sought. The Toynbee Tiles stand as testament to the power of anonymous creativity, the persistence of mystery in the modern world, and the human capacity to find meaning in the most unexpected places. They remind us that our cities are not just collections of buildings and infrastructure, but canvases for human expression and repositories of stories waiting to be discovered by those curious enough to look down at their feet and wonder what messages might be hidden in plain sight. In the end, perhaps the tiles' greatest achievement is not their cryptic message about resurrection and space colonization, but their successful demonstration that individual vision, sustained over decades, can permanently alter the cultural landscape of entire continents. They prove that one person's obsession, given sufficient dedication and creativity, can become everyone's mystery, a gift of wonder embedded in the everyday world, waiting to be discovered by each new generation of urban explorers. As you drift towards sleep tonight, you might imagine walking through the streets of Philadelphia, New York, or dozens of other cities, scanning the pavement for those familiar rectangular messages. In your dreams, you might be the one who finally decodes their complete meaning, or the one who discovers the workshop where they were created, or perhaps even the anonymous artists themselves, driven by an unshakable certainty that humanity's future lies somewhere among the moons of Jupiter, where the dead will walk again and consciousness will transcend the limitations of flesh. The tiles remain, weathered but persistent, carrying their cryptic promise into an uncertain future. Toynbee idea in movie 2001, Resurrect Dead on planet Jupiter. The message continues to wait, embedded in the streets we walk every day, patient and mysterious, a reminder that wonder and creativity can flourish even in the most regulated and observed of worlds. Rest well, knowing that mysteries still exist in our world and that human creativity finds ways to express itself that defy easy explanation or control. The Toynbee Tiles have become part of the urban landscape, part of our collective cultural memory, and part of the ongoing human story of hope, obsession, and the desire to communicate something important across the vast distances of time and space. Sleep peacefully, and perhaps tomorrow you'll notice things you never saw before. Messages hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal their secrets to those patient enough to look and wonder.